So welcome back to a brand new video. If this video has been uploaded on Tuesday, I can only apologise that it's a little bit late. I've been really busy recently. I'm going to offer my championship review for week 3 and oh my word, we had a terrific week. Plenty of fantastic goals being scored. We've had howlers from goalkeepers and players. We've also had the first managerial sacking and we've also got 12 more score fixtures that we need to go through to the end of this video. So a lot to go through in this video, so let's get through this quickly. Before I start, out of all of my score predictions, I only got one prediction correctly, and that was the Blackburn against Middlesbrough game, which ended as a 1-0 home victory to Blackburn. So anyway, let's get this started. So now we go to the Friday kickoff, Huddersfield versus Fulham. This ended as a 2-1 away victory to Fulham. This game struggled to get going. I thought in the first half the game was pretty quiet. Huddersfield, I would probably say they had the better end of the first half. They were having passages in possession, but they didn't really create anything going forward. Fulham in the second half completely changed. They felt like a different team. The front three looked electric. Mitrovic had a brilliant goal. He simply headed it in. Tommy Elphick tried to hold him down, but most defenders are not going to hold down Mitrovic, let's be real. So he managed to get that in. And then Huddersfield finally scored their open goal from open play. It was from Carlton Grant, a fantastic header with Bettinelli making a very sharp save. Unfortunately for him, the ball crossed the line by 24 millilitres. Carlton Grant's goal could have been avoided. Steven Sessegnon struggled to get back to him and to try and outmuscle him, but all of that didn't matter. Caballero scored an absolute peach of a shot. I am disappointed in the Huddersfield defence with the amount of space he had. He had a lot of time. He even had time to stand still and had time to direct the shot. But wow, wasn't the shot amazing? He managed to ping the shot right in the top right corner of the goal. It was absolutely stunning. Fulham deserved to win the game in the end if you look at the stats. Since then, Jan Sievert's got the sack. I think it's really harsh on him, but I think in the end of the day, the reason they sacked him was his run from the Premier League to the Championship. 1 win in 19 games is an absolute abysmal record, and I remember saying in my Championship predictions, I'm still not too sure about Jan Sievert, which is why I didn't predict Huddersfield to be as high up the table as I predicted them to be. I anticipated this from watching them in the Premier League. With Fulham though, their front three seemed to be clicking more. Anthony Knockaert had a fantastic influence in the game, I thought, even though he didn't score. He picked out a lot of key passes with 2 of Fulham's goals, and I think Fulham could be a very dangerous threat. The front three can almost win in the game by themselves. Defensively, they still worry me a little bit, but I think they may be okay if the front three can keep firing the goals. So now we get to the 3 o'clocks. Luton Town and West Brom ended as a 2-1 away victory to West Brom. And I have to say, well done to West Brom. They really showed their class against a really tough Luton side. I wrongfully underestimated them, and boy did they prove me wrong in this game. Harry Cornick managed to head in a goal from Luton. He was completely unmarked, and there was a great assist from Martin Cranney as well, one of their new signings. West Brom then grew into the game. Jacob Livermore provided a good effort where Sluga had to make a really good save, a fingertip save. West Brom almost scored immediately when the second half started. Luton cheaply gave the ball away just outside the penalty box. Kwavinic managed to win it back, provided a great assist to Grady Diangara, who managed to slot it home. It was a great goal from just outside the penalty box, meaning Sluga had no chance of reaching it. West Brom then scored again 3 minutes later. They were running riot, and it was Grady Diangara who managed to score again. It was a bit of a lucky deflection, but Diangara managed to have a real good header and it managed to go in the goal. It was a really nice goal, I thought. Luton did keep trying. Their heads weren't away from the game. Lua nearly scored, but Sam Johnston made a pretty good save to keep him out. Charlie Austin nearly scored on his Championship debut. However, he did score the post. I felt like he should have scored. He was about 6 yards out and headed across the post. Overall, Luton were outclassed in terms of their attack and defence, and all over the field pretty much. Luton did well to compete, but West Brom really did show their quality in this game. With Luton, they are in a bit of a dire position. They're still winless. They're still one of only 4 teams that are winless in this league. They're going to have to pick up points thick and fast against teams around them. I think that is how they're going to survive. they will need to improve on their defensive record, and especially at home as well. So the Millwall and Sheffield Wednesday game managed to end 1-0 to Millwall, and look at those stats. You wouldn't have think that Millwall would have won this game, but they did. The goal was in unfortunate circumstances. Kieran Westwood misjudged a corner kick, and Matt Smith, the man in form for Millwall, managed to head the ball in. It was a really nice goal for him, and that turned out to be the only goal in this game. Jed Wallace got a straight red card for fouling Kieran Lee. It resulted with the referee talking to the third assistant for him to give him the red. I think it was previously a yellow. Do I think it was a red? I mean, when I first looked at it, I wasn't too sure, but then with a close-up, I think he's giving it as a red because it was quite a clumsy tackle and he used both of his feet to foul Kieran Lee, which I think that's why they resulted in a red card in the end. It was a very unnecessary challenge as well, and this could be detrimental to Millwall's success for the fact that Jed Wallace is now going to be banned for about 3 games. Sheffield Wednesday did have a few chances. They weren't terrible in the game. Barry Bannon had a pretty good chance in the second half, forcing a pretty sharp save from Bielkowski, but overall Wednesday were just not clinical enough, and that is how the game was won. With Millwall, their direct style seems to be working for them so far. They are undefeated in their first 3 games, already doing so much better than I've predicted them to be. And if they can keep this going, who knows, they could be a dark horse for trying to achieve the top 6. So a fantastic win for Nottingham Forest. They managed to beat Birmingham by 3-0. It was a great performance, although Birmingham were absolutely poor in this game. Joe Lolly managed to score from a free kick. It was a peach of a shot, but there is no denying Lee Camp should have saved it. John Lolly then provided an assist for Lewis Grabban, who had a simple header at goal. He was completely unmarked. In the second half, Birmingham's shaky defence continued, where Jack Robinson managed to retrieve the ball from the Birmingham defence, but Camp, redeeming himself, managed to save it. However, from that resulting corner, Michael Dawson managed to rise and head in the goal, and to be honest, I forgot he was still playing football. I thought he was now a pundit. It was ridiculous. Forest dominated and they could have scored 5 or 6 goals. Sammy Amiobi had a really good chance. Joe Nolly had another really good chance that Lee Camp managed to save. Grabban also had a really good chance to kill the game off. Birmingham did not really test Nottingham Forest all that much. I think Jukovic's header, which went practically straight at Muric, was his best chance in that game. And overall, really disappointing signs for Birmingham. And their midweek game is going to be very key. If they weren't to improve in that game, then I'd be a little bit worried of what Birmingham will do for the rest of the season, if I'm honest with you. With Forest though, it was a dramatic improvement from their first 2 games. So another very entertaining game was against the 2 newly promoted sides, Barnsley 2, Charlton 2. A very end-to-end game. Barnsley had, I'd say, were a little bit better in terms of the stats, but Charlton did very well to compete. Cooley Woodrow got the lead, and oh my word, what a goal it was. His touch to retrieve the ball was not only brilliant, but he also caught it on the volley and managed to hit it in the top corner. Wow, I keep watching that goal back and thinking, like, I cannot believe we're seeing goals like this in the Championship. It is absolutely terrific. It's another reason why Championship is one of the more entertaining leagues in the world. Charlton responded very well to this. Conor Gallagher, former Chelsea man of course, managed to squeeze an equaliser. Another pretty good goal, not as good as Woodrow's, but another nicely slotted goal. It was a very even second half. Connor Chaplin managed to give Barnsley the lead, and to be honest, I thought the game was going to end like that and I would have got my second prediction correct, but no. Charlton were awarded a penalty in the 85th minute after Colin Gallagher was fouled by Biama Diaby. It was a really silly challenge, and Lyle Taylor, with his very unique penalty style, scored his penalty. Overall, it was, for Barnsley, it was an improvement on Sheffield Wednesday's performance. I also thought Charlton did very well to snatch something from this game, and they are still unbeaten, which really surprises me. So then to the fixture I only predicted correctly. It ended Blackburn 1, Middlesbrough 0. There was, I think, a sincere lack of quality in this game, if I'm going to be honest. Blackburn bombarded Middlesbrough in the first 10 or 15 minutes. Middlesbrough were immediately on the back foot, especially from their corners as well. Bradley Dack and Greg Cunningham had terrific chances to score, before eventually Digiskill fouled Danny Graham in the penalty box. It was really unnecessary what he needed to do. He pulled on his shirt, and when you pull on someone's shirt, you're only asking for trouble, especially in the penalty box. Danny Graham even scored the penalty, a very nice penalty as well. Apart from that, there were no clear-cut chances. There was a few half chances for each team. Alan Brown had a pretty good chance for Middlesbrough, although he did time his run a little bit wrong, and if he got there a little earlier, that could have been in the net because Bolton managed to misjudge the cross. Although Arsene Malonga was really quiet in this game, he disappointed me. Under Jonathan Woodgate's style, I mean, I'm still convinced by it. And like Birmingham, they are going to be a team I'm going to be keeping a close eye on in midweek, because if they don't get anything midweek, then I'd say then Jonathan Woodgate would probably be one of the favourites for the next manager to be sacked, along with Jan Siever. Brentford versus Hull ended as a 1-1 draw, and it was actually a very even game. The game was relatively quiet in the first half with not many clear-cut chances. Hull then took the lead, and that really brought the game to life in the second half, where De Silva kept the ball absolutely brilliantly, managing to provide a pass for Jared Bowen, who had the simplest of tasks to smash it home. It was a little bit disappointing defensively on Brentford. They didn't manage to keep their eyes on Bowen. He got into a fantastic performance. Brentford's goal came from Ollie Watkins, but Long, the keeper, will be very disappointed he didn't manage to retrieve it. Hull are a team that seem to be improving every week under Grant McCann, and they, like Millwall, could be a real dark horse if they continue to improve and pose us this much threat, especially away from home as well, because what really lacked Hull down last season was their away record. They could really make a good statement in the Championship this year. With Brentford, the potential is there. They should be fighting for top 6 in my honest opinion. I think with Thomas Frank, it's going to take a little bit of time to get it right, which is probably why I predicted Brentford to finish in or around mid-table. But it's frustrating because I know the potential's there, but we're going to have to wait and see, and there'll be another team I'll keep my eye on midweek. Bristol City managed to recover from their Carabao Cup heartbreak by beating their rivals Queen's Park Rangers by 2-0. It was a really feisty game and actually quite an entertaining one. It was a really good response from them from the Carabao Cup. First goal was brilliantly executed by Adam Nagy. He managed to run onto the ball and first time managed to have a bullet shot hitting in the bottom corner of the net. It was absolutely brilliant. David Bentley was needed for Bristol City a couple of times. He had to make a couple of saves. However, the second goal, oh dear. Lumley had a complete howler and a Hashem trying to clear the ball, but then it led to Andrew Weimann, who managed to pass it to Benica Fobe, who had the simplest of tasks of slotting the ball home. There was also a goal that was disallowed for Bristol City when there was a collision between Tommy Rowe and Osai Samuel, which didn't manage to get heated. There was claims that he managed to hit him on the face and he only got a yellow card from it. QPR did have chances, they weren't terrible, but they would be disappointed from that game that they didn't score. Bristol City, they looked pretty good in their last 2 games. Like with Nottingham Forest, they'll be a team that I expect to be pushing for top 6. Another fantastic game was in the Bet365 Stadium, where it ended Stoke 2, Derby 2. I think Stoke will be disappointed they didn't win this game. They looked absolutely terrific at times, but Derby took the lead in 2 minutes. Martin Waghorn managed to go ahead. Stoke's defence was asleep and he had the simplest of tasks of slotting a very nice goal in the net. Stoke grew into the game and they had a great mentality about them. Joe Allen had an unbelievable miss where he was about 2 yards out from the goal and headed it straight in the post. Like 9 times out of 10, even with Championship level, that should be going in the net or at least on target. Stoke continued to press. Tom Ince then hit the bar in the first half as well. In the second half, Stoke continued to press with their slick passing and eventually they were rewarded with their second goal. It was a great goal by Scott Hogan in the end. Derby then really fought to try get something from this game. Derby were then awarded a penalty. I'm 50-50 whether it was a penalty, but I do feel sorry for Stoke because they were absolutely terrific in that game and Martin Waghorn, doing what he does, scored his penalty. Derby could have won it in the end actually. Martin Waghorn had a chance where it was practically 1-on-1 with Butland, but Butland made a terrific save, keeping it out. Etebo also could have won it, managed to have a good shot but was slightly wide of the post. A fantastic game overall, really entertaining, and Stoke despite their league position, they have shown flair more importantly, and soon luck will go their way. I think Stoke fans will need to be just a little bit patient. With Derby, maybe a little bit lucky they got something from the game, but they have shown that even if they're not playing at their best, they can still get something from it, which is key if you want to be challenging promotion. And to another entertaining game, Swansea 3, Preston North End 2. Both I thought were terrific in this game. Preston managed to take the lead very, very early on. It was from Joe Rafferty from just outside the box. Another fantastic goal, a bit similar to Dianga's against Luton. Although Woodman and the Swansea goal, I say, could have done better from that. Swansea equalised for Baston, and I completely forgot he's still playing for Swansea. He's been a guy that's been loaned out in La Liga, and I completely forgot he was a Swansea player, but my word, he was instrumental in Swansea's win against Preston. It was a sucker punch to Preston because he scored practically in the last kick of the half. In the second half, Swansea looked really good. Bersat Selina looked very good in that game. Swansea there were 2-1 up. George Byers with a terrific shot. It was a bullet of a shot. Although Preston got a very clear penalty. It was a very silly penalty to concede. Connor Roberts on Sean Maguire. Daniel Johnson, who's been, I think, one of Preston's better players at the moment, he scored the penalty. But then 2 minutes later, which was a real blow to Preston, Baston with his magic again scored for Swansea. After that performance, I expect both teams to be really pushing for top half finishes. Swansea have had a much better start than I expected them to have, with the amount of players they lost in this transfer window and the quality that they've lost in Daniel James and Oliver McBurney. They're doing really, really well for themselves. With Preston, judging their last away performance against Millwall, they didn't look great. I was a bit worried for them, although they really, really gave Swansea a very good game and were quite unlucky probably not to get a point. So to the penultimate game, Wigan versus Leeds. This ended Leeds with a 2-0 victory, and I have to really feel sorry for Wigan. In the first 20 minutes before Williams got his second yellow card, they were the better team. They were really threatening Leeds from their set pieces, from their free kicks and corners. Bamford scored a brace. Both of the goals weren't pretty goals. First one I'd say was a little bit classy. He didn't really get it closed down and had a lot of time to simply slot it in. And the second goal, he just shoved his presence forward and managed to squeeze the ball through the line in the end, because both teams were really using set pieces to try and attack each other. So it was a real battle to see who could deal and who could deliver the best set pieces. Wigan will be a bit disappointed defensively, especially in the first goal. I'd be looking over for them in midweek whether they can recover from that, because they at times looked really, really good, but the way they capitulated in the end, it could be a little bit of a worry. And then finally on Sunday's game, Reading 3, Cardiff 0. Wow. I mean, I knew I predicted Reading to get a victory, and that enough was a bit of a balls prediction, but the fact they won that emphatically, just absolutely amazing. And there's one man you've got to thank for that, George Puskas. Wow, what a player he is. At times he looked unplayable. I watched this live, I was like, are we seeing this guy in the Championship? I knew he was good from the under-21s European Championships with Romania, but I did not expect that to be coming out of him. And, you know, I think it's a real coup for Reading that they've managed to get him from Inter Milan. Both of his goals were nicely worked. Swift also scored a really nice goal as well as a bullet. And Reading could have even won by more, by 4, but Yakin Mate missed his penalty. The response he got from that was absolutely disgusting, in my opinion. It wasn't even going to affect the game. It wasn't like they were 2-1 down and this could have been an equaliser. They were already 3-0 up, for goodness sake. Cardiff in the game I thought were poor. I think they did all right defensively in the first 20 or so minutes, but they've really struggled to create anything against this Reading side. And I'd say Warnock would need to consider his starting 11 and for some tactics, because they will need to have more chances and more passing in open play. But that will wrap it up for my review for week 3. Week 4 of the Championship is actually starting on Tuesday. Let me go through the predictions now. So starting off with Birmingham and Barnsley, I think this is going to be a close game actually. Birmingham and St Andrews will be stronger. I'm anticipating a 2-1 away victory to Barnsley. I think they have what it takes to beat them. Derby and Bristol City, I think once again it's going to be a close game, but I think at Pride Park, Derby are a different side. I'm anticipating a 2-0 home victory to Derby. Hull and Blackburn. Hull have looked really good, although Blackburn did have their first win, and Blackburn can cause some problems at times. I'm just not sure about them defensively. I think this is going to be a draw. I'm anticipating, controversially, a 1-1 draw. Middlesbrough and Wigan, two teams not great form. One of these teams will need to win to really get their season going. I don't think either are going to get it. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Sheffield Wednesday and Luton Town, very interesting teams with contrasting forms, even though they both lost this weekend. I think Sheffield Wednesday are going to hold their own and dispatch Luton by 3-1. Cardiff and Huddersfield, both newly relegated sides, both not doing all that well for themselves, both in the bottom half of the table. I think Cardiff, though, are going to recover. I think they know they were completely below par. Huddersfield, they'll be under a caretaker manager, and it's going to take time for them to really start the season positively. So I'm going to say a 2-0 home victory to Cardiff. Charlton and Nottingham Forest, I'm anticipating a lot of goals in this game actually. Nottingham Forest showed a lot of attacking flair against Birmingham. Charlton at home as well do tend to score plenty of goals. I'm going to say it's a really close 3-2 home victory to Charlton. I think they can continue their unbeaten start. Fulham and Millwall, another really close game. Both teams seem to be scoring for fun at the moment. Fulham will win by 2-1. I think Millwall's unbeaten start's going to end today. I think with Leeds and Brentford, really close once again, but I think Leeds are going to edge it. They do tend to find a way most of the time. Let's not talk about the final 6 games, but in the start they do tend to find a way. I'm going to say 2-1 Leeds. Preston North End and Stoke, a fantastic game. I think this is going to be a very close game. I've only seen 1 goal in it. I think Preston will win by 1-0. I think it's going to be a very close game overall. Queen's Park Rangers and Swansea, once again, really close game in my opinion. QL could offer some problems for Swansea at home, but Swansea look really good at the moment. I'm actually going to anticipate a 2-1 away victory. West Brom and Reading. Well, Reading had a terrific result this weekend, although West Brom also had a terrific result as well. I think West Brom aren't going to have any problems though. I think they're going to win by 3 goals. But there you have it. These are my week 4 score predictions and my review on week 3. Now I'm going to go through my result of the weekend, goal of the weekend, and player of the weekend. So in terms of the result of the weekend, I've got to give it to Reading. The way that I even said I am going to go on my gut and say a narrow victory to Reading, but they dispatched a newly relegated Cardiff, who I'm anticipating to finish first. In terms of the goal of the weekend, there are so many nominees for this. Ivan Cavallera, Cooley Woodrow, Adam Nagy as well. I'm going to have to give it to Cooley Woodrow. That touch along with that bullet shot, just beautiful. It has to be Cooley Woodrow for Barnsley. And the player of the weekend, there are so many nominees for that. There could be Diangua for West Brom, Borja Baston for Swansea, George Puskas for Reading. I think I have to give it to George Puskas. He had a terrific game for Reading and he was instrumental in their 3-0 victory, so I'm going to give it to George Puskas. So before we end, let's quickly look at the championship table for 3 games in. So Leeds, Charlton, West Brom, Swansea and Millwall are first with 7 points and are all unbeaten so far. If you look at the bottom, Luton, Middlesbrough, Huddersfield and Stoke are the only teams without a win yet. I'm anticipating a lot of change in the next coming weeks. If I were to compare it to my actual predictions, only 2 teams are actually in the correct position. Luton in 21st and Brentford 12th. I hope to get more than 2 though. But that will wrap up today's video. If you like what you see, give the video a like, subscribe and a share. All of that is massively appreciated. There is my Twitter. If you want to follow it, please do. Anyway, that would wrap it up. I cannot wait for the next weekend of football. Week 5 is going to be interesting. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of the video. And as always, take care.